Today I want to talk a bit about diet. And I see so many guys just obsess over their diet. Like these fighters obsess over it. When really the thing that you should be obsessing about is just your training. Like your diet is just a side thing. Like your diet is there to make you feel good when you're training and to enhance your gains you make. So really they all just are like, oh, I'm on a carnivore diet, I'm on keto, and I'm just like, honestly, just eat what the fuck you want. Like, it's not as important as it might seem. It's not like you're a bodybuilder and your diet is like almost more important than your training. Like when you are a fighter, like if like you have to like really train. When you don't train, like bro, then you can have the best diet, but you ain't gonna learn no more skills. You ain't gonna enhance shit. Because when you step into that ring, all that counts is your fighting ability. And yeah, your diet can help with that, but really, your diet is just there to make you feel good when you train. And really just to give you energy. So when you eat before training, you should really eat the foods that when you eat them, then afterwards, for the next few hours, you feel great. So if, for example, when you eat a huge bowl of rice, and then afterwards, for the next 1, 2, or 3 hours, you feel like absolute shit, then obviously don't eat that whole rice bowl right before you train. You can still eat that in the evening at like 8 p.m. or something when you don't have really much to do anymore. Because then it doesn't really matter. Because you're going to go to sleep anyways. And then the next day, you haven't eaten then. So, and basically kind of resets. So if, for example, you eat a banana before training, and then after you eat that banana, you feel great, you're energized, then do that before training. But like I also see a lot of guys like they just don't eat before training, and honestly, I've really taken that approach myself, and honestly, it's worked great for me. Like for example, I don't eat in the morning at all. Like until at least noon, I just don't eat. I Right now, I eat 2 meals a day. I just eat in the afternoon, like before training, and then in the evening after training. And what I eat is just before training, I just eat like really protein rich foods. I don't eat any carbs because when you eat carbs, what a lot of guys say is they just feel like shit. And I mean, that's for most people. For me, honestly, it doesn't make that much of a difference because I've been basically eating carbs all my life. Like, I'm used to it. So I feel like my body is just kind of adjusted to it. And then after training, I eat way more carbs than I do before, always. And really, the most important thing that you just gotta make sure is that you get your protein in. As long as you get your protein in, besides that, you can honestly, you're free to eat whatever. Like you see all these fat guys in UFC, for example. You see like a Daniel Cormier, for example, and like that guy is like fat. That guy's fat, straight up. And I bet he eats like shit, but he does eat his protein, and he makes training his priority. So I mean, that's how he became a double champ. I mean, what can I say? And like yeah, once again, you see all these guys. They're on the really strict diet, like on carnivore and keto, all of that. And yes, it does improve some things, but when you don't train hard enough, you don't make training your priority, then you're not gonna become that much better. You're just not. But when you just eat like shit, you just eat like sweets all the time. You just eat sugar. You just eat like processed carbs. Like you just eat McDonald's all the time, and you don't get enough protein, and then you're gonna become fat, and you're not gonna become better because you feel like shit. But when you eat like let's say you're 200 pounds, and then you eat 200 grams of protein, then obviously if you eat like a cookie, for example, after training, like it's not gonna impact you that much. Obviously, if you are on a purely clean diet and you don't eat any junk food, then you are still gonna be better than the guy who just eats like shit. but not by that much, honestly, if your training is the same as him. Another thing that I've just learned and realized is, once again, the importance of consistency in your diet as well. Because what we've been seeing in a lot of fighters is that let's say they fight about twice a year on average, right? And when they're not in training camp and really preparing for the fight, they aren't following any diets. So then when they have to like basically 180 their diet just like that for about 2 months before the fight, once again, that's really tough for you mentally actually, because you used to just eating what you want, used to just not caring that much, because you don't have to be in shape unless you're training for that fight. So then when they are training for that fight, they have to eat really healthy, and because they haven't been staying consistent with that new strict diet, it's kind of hard, and it isn't ingrained into their lifestyle. So what happens is that once they retire, or once they aren't fighting for maybe a year or longer, so they just balloon up, because really then they've been just eating for a year or longer, just whatever they want. Like, they haven't been on any diets. And also, after you've been really dieting for 2 months and training really hard, then after you have that fight, then you really want to enjoy yourself. You want to just eat what you want. You don't want to have to follow the restrictions anymore. So what happens in other sports is, like, for example, in soccer, like when you playing professionally in the top league, like you have a game pretty much every weekend. So you have to really be on a diet and training hard like all year round. You maybe have like a 2 month break in the summer where there aren't any games, where you can kind of like relax a bit. But then afterwards, you have to pretty much be training hard and dieting all year long. So it's really ingrained into your lifestyle. And so what happens after retirement is they just stay in shape for the most part. Obviously, there are also exceptions. Like some fighters, they really are just eating healthy all the time. Like, I've really been seeing like George St. Pierre, for example. He's really still in shape. But then there are other fighters, like if you've seen Paddy, for example, like he hasn't, like he's not even retired, but just because he hasn't fought in a long time, he's just ballooned up. I mean, you've been seeing it all over the place. So yeah, really, I mean, I don't have that much experience in that actually, but really, you don't need to be all that experienced to just kind of see the trend of what happens to all the fighters. So what I just want to do with this is just make you go down the right path, or the path that just seems sustainable for you just from the start. I mean, that's what I've been doing. I've been dieting all this time. Like, for example, I've been eating junk food in, I don't know, a few weeks probably. And for me, I just eat the foods that are like just healthy enough that they aren't like junk food, but then I can still enjoy, so that it's consistent. And then when eventually I'm gonna go into training camp, when I have to prepare for a fight, I don't have to make that big of a change in my diet. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much been it. I've not really followed the script for this video. I haven't really wrote one. I just kind of wanted to be a bit more open and just think on the spot. So yeah, I wanted to try that for this video. Probably still have a long way to go, but I mean, I'm working on it now. And yeah, with that, I would say really know what path you want to go down. Do you want to just be consistent all the time, and also have some maybe longevity benefits, for example, with just a healthy diet all throughout your life? Or do you want to just eat super healthy during training camp and then afterwards just not give a fuck at all. So yeah, it's your choice at the end of the day, but I just wanted to bring some light to that. So yeah, with that, hope you're gonna do well in your fighting journey, and maybe we'll see each other at the top.